Heading into the last week of the season, hopefully all are in your championship matchup. I'm Dustin, welcome to Fantasy Smack Talk. This is going to be our last waiver wire show of the year since we don't do anything with week 17. And neither should you, because you will see why. There will be a lot of people that are taking that day off, or at least only playing the first half of those games. So if you have your championship week 17, you need to move to week 16. But we got some people to talk about, not as many as normal because we're only talking about 1 week. If I wouldn't suggest starting them this week, there's really no point in talking about them. Start at running back. I've been talking about him for weeks now. If you've been watching this show, you know I like him. You know I think he's the best running back on the Packers. And we saw why week 15. Ty Montgomery, the guy's amazing. Needs to be owned in all leagues at this point. Only owned about 60% of leagues, which I was surprised about when he was named the starter. Going into the game, I thought he'd get picked up in more leagues, but still available in 40% of leagues. Yes, he does have Minnesota week 16, but they'll get creative with him. They'll get him the ball, maybe some short screen plays. Even if he can't get the running stats that he had week 15, I still think he gets around 15 plus touches, and he has a huge upside week 16, even with a tough matchup. Let's take a look at receivers. Dontrell Inman, I've been talking about him a lot. Matchup against Cleveland, week 16. I like that for him. He's been solid as of late. I see him as a high floor guy that has a high ceiling. So depending on who your other options are at receiver, he's only on in 40% of leagues. I think Inman's getting a little bit disrespected in terms of just how safe he is at this point with having a big upside. Charles Johnson, I want to talk about him. Going into 2015 season, everyone loved Charles Johnson. He was about to break out, but that didn't really happen, and he's just kind of fallen off. And then Adam Thielen, he came out, broke out. Diggs broke out, so Johnson's kind of been the forgotten guy. But with Thielen banged up, we'll see if he plays this week. But if Thielen doesn't play, I don't mind Charles Johnson in really deep leagues. I'm putting him in like wide receiver 4 radar. Matchup against Green Bay, I don't hate Charles Johnson if Adam Thielen ends up sitting. Marquise Lee I want to talk about. He's only on in 20% of leagues. No catches week 15, but he saved his fantasy week with a 100-yard kickoff return. So no catches, yes, that's a little scary, but he had been solid up until last week. I'm calling last week kind of a fluke, and I like his week 16 matchup going up against Tennessee. They are not good against the pass, so I do like Marquise Lee as a pickup in deeper leagues. Robbie Anderson, we got to talk about him. Another solid game for him. So that's 3 good games in a row for Anderson, only on in 10% of leagues. He's got a matchup at New England week 16. I don't necessarily love that matchup, but Marshall's been not that great, banged up, and I do think Anderson is their best option now at wide receiver, and he should get targeted early and often. Let's talk about tight ends. I want to talk about Hunter Henry. Normally I don't like tight ends that are very touchdown dependent, but he has 4 touchdowns in his last 5 games. That's hard to ignore. Again, matchup against Cleveland. They could get up early and not have to pass a ton in the second half, but I still like Henry's chances of finding the end zone week 16. So if you're looking for a tight end that has a decent upside, especially in standard leagues, I think Henry, borderline tight end 1, I think, for the championship week. And then my pick up and play defense, sticking with that San Diego game. I'm going with San Diego against the Browns. They're a safe play. Again, kind of like I was talking about with Inman, high floor, and they still have a high ceiling. So I like San Diego as my pick up and play defense, only on about 30% of leagues right now. So that's who I think y'all should be considering for championships in terms of what might be out there on the wire. Not a ton of great pickups though this week, so more than likely you're just rolling what you got on your team. They got you there. I would stick with them, unless you can get maybe Montgomery or some of these other guys in deeper leagues. But that's it. It's been a great season. Brent and I will be back later this week for our Fantasy Fix show, or for our ranking show. And as always, if you got any questions, post them in the forums.